Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele and I will be your nerd today. And any other day that I do one of these funny little shows, or that you look up one of my funny little shows, or my TikTok, or anything else. Hey, how are you? How is everybody doing on your end of the internet? Good, I hope. It's been a good week. So, by the time this comes out, my lovely wife with her business, Artemis Portraits, will be headed down to the Fandemic convention. It's a horror pop culture convention down in Atlanta, Georgia, where she will hopefully be selling tons and tons and tons of her cool prints. A lot of Walking Dead people there, some people that are friends of ours that sadly are not, I'm not going to be down there to see. Someone has to be here to hold down the fort and keep all the animals fed and everything. So I don't get to go to Fandemic this time. However, next week is GaryCon, which I'm super psyched for. It's going to be a great show. It's also Adepticon, so I'm going to stop there too, because they're kind of in the same neck of the woods. But that does mean that I will not have a video next week. There will not be an episode next week, unless I can somehow manage to go live while I'm there, but I doubt it. I'm going to be pretty busy. But I do want to go ahead and say, hey, we are halfway through March already. What the heck? Time is just blurring by. Professionally, I finished up some commission stuff, and you know, back to work at more Essence 20 stuff. The G.I. Joe Essence 20 game that we did is now available. The PDF for the pre-releases have gone out, and I've heard that some people are already starting to get their physical books that they pre-ordered. So take a look at that at Renegade's website. While I was not one of the leads on that project, I did still have some work involved, primarily with the creation of the Essence 20 system itself. But the people who made that game, Ryan Costello, Ben Heisler, and Paige Lightman, they did an amazing job, and I really look forward to seeing more people, you know, kind of glomming onto the Essence 20 line and whatever IP they choose to go with. I do know that the Game Master screen for G.I. Joe is also is up for pre-order, I believe. And that actually comes with an adventure written by yours truly called The Emerald Oubliette. Super fun adventure there for a low-level character. It was not one character. I mean, you could do one character who was really good, but I digress. Yeah, so professionally, it's been a good week. Got a little more headway done on some Warzone stuff. Very excited about the Warzone Kickstarter upcoming. In fact, that's actually one of the things that I'm going to get to do when I stop by at Adepticon next weekend is I get to sit down with Alex. We very rarely get to see each other in person. It's almost always over the interwebs. So it's going to be nice to see him in person, sit down, have a talk. You know, discuss some things about the upcoming Kickstarter and options and whatnot. But either way, it's been a good week professionally. I feel good about all the work that I've done. I feel good about the headway that we've made. Talking to people on the Renegade Games Discord and Facebook to answer rules questions and things about Power Rangers. It's just been a really solid week. I kind of feel like I'm hitting my stride. You know, the weather has turned back away from snow and gross, which is a plus. We are actually seemingly getting towards maybe actual springtime, which would be great. Just because I do not like having to deal with snow and mud all of the times. So Yeah, it's been a good week. Personally, all the animals are doing great. Which, by the way, I've got the door open, which means we might have a visitation from some animals. Um, if you're not aware, my house is a menagerie. I have a ton. I have a bunch of dogs and a bunch of cats. And when no one else is home, I make sure that I keep my door open so I can hear any madness. Now, it also means that we might see a cat visitor jump up into the frame. I hope that does not bother you, as that they live here too. Weight loss wise, I'm still capped out right around 55 pounds. I can't seem to get over that 60-pound hump. I know next week GaryCon is going to be hard. But speaking of, now I'm going to say this now because there's not going to be a video out before then. But if you are a fan of me and my content, Saturday at between 6 and 7 Central Standard Time on the GaryCon live stream. I think it's going to be their Twitch channel. But either way, it's either their YouTube or their Twitch channel. We are going to be doing a special event that I've organized with my good friend Rick Inkney, formerly known as Tabletop Santa, and a handful of other industry professionals: Ginny Loveday, Nathaniel Sims, and the illustrious Matthew Forbeck. We are going to have a unique kind of interview panel at GaryCon. We are calling it Hot Takes. Some people may have seen a very popular internet show called Hot Ones. We are doing the gamer edition. It's still going to be 10 spicy wings. It's still going to be 10 sauces. In fact, actually purchased from the same people who do Hot Ones. And we're going to be asked questions about the industry, about our projects, about ourselves personally by Rick, a class act interviewer to begin with, while we are eating, in fact, increasingly spicy wings. I've wanted to do this for a long time, and GaryCon seemed like the right kind of right kind of theater for it. So we're gonna be doing it live. So yeah, if you're a fan, bookmark it. It'll be Saturday the 26th, between 6 and 7 on the live stream. It's gonna be something. I wouldn't lie. I love spicy food. And I've run the gamut of things that are super painful and deadly to just spicy and tasty. I have faith I'm gonna get through all 10. I don't think I'm gonna. I can't imagine throwing in the towel knowing the other things that I've eaten, but I am gonna suffer, and I know that. So we'll see, and we'll see what questions get asked of me and my compatriots. We've already, in our little kind of side chat, we've already discussed that at least one of us is probably going to give up halfway because they just aren't sure whether or not they can do it. But all of us are willing, ready, and able, and we think that if again, it's for entertainment, and what's a couple of hours of discomfort if you guys are happy. So that's the goal. All right, I think that's pretty much all of my stuff. Nothing. I don't think there's anything else that I need. Oh, gaming. Gaming. What I do for a living. So last week we had our Waking Realms game, which is where I am the dancing cat monk, and we officially started the. I won't say it was like the downtime episode, but it was the episode where we weren't keeping track of hours or days, or it was a what are you doing between this chapter and this chapter kind of thing. And my character has spent a copious amount of money creating what he has called the Dentist's Guild. The Dentist's Guild is a code name for a bunch of vampire hunters and monster hunters that he is hiring to specifically take out a very scary demon-worshipping vampire who has decided that she should own or enthrall or eat or whatever one of our compatriots. So one of our party members is basically being targeted by this super demon vampire lady, and I spent a ton of money and magic items creating a hidden monster hunting guild, and they are very cool. I call them the Dentist's Guild because they're going to defang this girl, this monster. But also, it's a way for them to not immediately get targeted by other vampires and things like that. They can hide that way. It's a secret club, get it? We'll see how that goes, because at the end of the last session was when the vampire, one of my kind of guild lieutenant people, came knocking at our door at 3 in the morning and said, she's here, as in the scary demon vampire lady. So that's where we ended our last session, and we'll see what's going on. Hopefully next time you hear from me, I'll have tales of conquest, well, I mean, it is the March to Conquest. Tales of victory over this demon vampire lady. But if not, I'm sure I'll have tales of woe. I was supposed to play Curse of Strahd last night, but I could not make it to the game because I was getting Natalie ready to go to Fandemic. But I was asked early on if I would be okay with them using my character, and if I died, if I had a backup character and such. So my Dragonborn Paladin of Chaos, I don't know what happened, because I have not had a chance to talk to Nick the DM yet today. So we'll see how that goes. You'll get a full report down the way, whether or not I'm introducing a brand new character, or if I managed to survive while I was being autopiloted by the Orb of Confusion, which is our way of saying player's not there, so you just kind of push buttons on the guy, and there's no real role play with him. And then video game wise, I have been playing more State of Decay 2. I really like that game. It's kind of repetitive, but because it's such a huge sandbox, getting to see new places and meet new characters is worth the repetition. Playing a lot of played a little bit of Sea of Thieves. The new season came out of Sea of Thieves, and it's really cool. There's these like ghost fortresses that you can go fight now. That game just they just keep making it better and better. Every time there's new content they download, it's just if there is one thing that I wish there were servers that you didn't have to deal with jerk PvP pirate crews, because as a game, the game is so much fun, and then when they introduce these new elements, these new storylines, these new epic quests, you could spend 2 hours doing all of these cool things, getting all this stuff, getting ready to cash out, getting ready to win the day, finish the adventure, and then bang, along comes some guy who all they do is hunt down players and sink their boats because it's fun. It is a weakness to that game, in my opinion, is that a lot of the community is kind of jerky, and I do wish that someone in that coding circle, I wish there was a way to enforce when you are part of an alliance, like you just can't hurt each other, or if someone asks for an alliance, if someone runs the alliance flag, that they can't hurt another player, a different player, for 30 minutes or something like that. Because as it is right now, a lot of times you'll see a boat coming, you might be busy, and you're like, hey, let's ally up, let's both make money, let's both benefit from the way this game can be played. And they go, yeah, sure, and then they get close to you and then sink your boat. And you're like, what? Okay. And if you talk to those players, they're like, well, it's part of the game, and you know, I'm being a pirate. And it's like, there were a lot of pirates that got along because they don't want to die. Just because you can respawn, it doesn't shouldn't mean that you're automatically a jerk. All right, sorry. That's pretty much my gaming. Although this weekend I will be playing a couple of rousing board games with Natalie being out of the house and me not having a car and basically bacheloring it up over the weekend. I invited some of my friends to come up and play some board games with me. One of the primary ones that I really want to make sure we get played is the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid game. I just went through and sorted out all of my cards and characters and got everybody individually bagged up, and it is now a much more it's not so arduous of a setup as it was before. So I'm really looking forward to sitting down and playing a game or two of that. Plus I know some of my friends have talked about bringing up some other stuff too. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Still trying to figure out how to play Warhammer Total War 3 on my computer. Hopefully when my friends come up on Saturday, the one that is a very big PC gamer will be able to figure out what I'm doing wrong, because I'm definitely doing something wrong and I just don't know what. Because I haven't used my PC for any non-Magic the Gathering based game in 15 years, maybe longer. That's how it is. All right, so you know what? We are going to get into it today. I was really hoping that I was going to have an unboxing for you this week, because I have been sent something very awesome of one of the new models that I want to do an unboxing and show you guys just how cool these kits can be. But it has not arrived yet. I got the shipping notice just yesterday, and currently it's still on a boat on the way over from Greece. So today's march to Conquest. First and foremost, today's winner for last week's episode, from the last week's raffle tickets, or comment raffle, is from episode 135, is City on a Hill Terrain. I'm assuming that's a moniker, not your real name. That would be a very strange real name. But when this video comes out, I will tag you in the comment section for you to send me your email address, so Leo can send you your code to get some free Spires Brutes for Conquest. So good on you, man. That's awesome. I love that. I love being able to give stuff away. And the fact that Parabellum as a company is backing me on this and helping us out, spread the word, and spread some cool stuff, I am very pleased. Speaking of cool stuff, something happened this week as far as Conquest was going, and it's almost like one of the reasons why I did March to Conquest. Oh yeah, the Old Dominion dropped! Alright, so when I was talking about the factions in the March to Conquest 1, I said there were new factions coming. Specifically, there was a 6th one that was right around the corner. That right around the corner has been rounded. They're here. They are the Old Dominion. The Old Dominion is the first of the undead styled factions for Conquest Last Argument. And they're really cool. They seem kind of almost like Roman Mayan in feel, but definitely a heavy Roman feel as far as like their models go. They are they have got very interesting statistics, and they definitely do something for the first time that no other army has done as of yet. Which we will get into that in a minute. So today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you the faction basically the faction brief on the Old Dominion, and then we're going to crack open the army builder, the actual stats for their initial army list, and we're going to go down and talk about them. Now, to be completely fair, a lot of this stuff that we're going to be looking at, they have not sent pictures. They have not given us descriptions. We don't know what half of these things are. So this is actually somewhat speculation based off of the stats and based off of maybe their nomenclature. But either way, we're going to be able to run down and get a kind of an idea of what each of these units are good at. But before then, let's take a look at the faction read-up. This is what they tell us about the Old Dominion. All right, we'll take a sip first. Actually, you know what? My lovely dog is barking like crazy outside. I need to go ahead and let them in. While I go do that, why don't you take a quick look at a little slideshow of some of the Old Dominion models that they've already shown us. All right, back in a sec. So, pretty cool, huh? Bunch of cool stuff. It's basically, it's like not the same undead that you're used to, is really what it comes down to. And it sounds like there's going to be some very, very cool, unique models in there, which does not surprise me because Conquest has so many, yeah, they've got some stereotypes built into the forces, but like there are models that are just completely different. Here, just completely different than anything else that I've seen, and I think that we are not done seeing some of the crazy stuff. But let's go ahead and take the time today to read through the faction overview, and then I will go through the Old Dominion's army list, kind of talking what they are going to have available to them. So let's jump into the faction part first. Now, I am reading this straight from their website, so if my computer freaks out, or if you're like, oh, he's reading off a cue card. It's not a cue card, it's a window, but okay. The Old Dominion. A common misconception amongst modern historians and their students is the title of Dominion refers to the dominion of man. It most certainly did not. The original inhabitants referred instead to the dominion of Haslia, the Pentocrator, god of mankind. And with his fall, the dominion ended, but did not die. Far to the east of the 100 Kingdoms, if you remember correctly, that was the main human faction, past the Clastrine Mountains and the desert wasteland beyond it, lie the heartlands of the Old Dominion. Once a continent-spanning power, the legions of the Old Dominion were powerful enough to threaten even the elder races of the Dwagom and the Spires into acquiescence, or at least a semblance of it. Past the once teeming valleys and fertile plains of the heartlands... Ooh, okay, let's try it again. Past the once teeming valleys and fertile plains of the heartlands lie the river valleys upon which Capitus, the greatest city of humanity ever built, was founded. And it is here, amongst the ruins of the holiest of cities of man, that the remnants of Haslia fell. Wounded unto death, but immortal and driven into a towering rage by the betrayal of his subjects, Haslia was pushed beyond the limits of despair and rage. In his hubris, he sought to end the Old Dominion, but was foiled by the sacrifice of another member of the Pantheon, Ninua, the Mother. Denied, broken, and driven well past the edge of madness, Haslia reached out to whatever power he could answer his desperate need to avenge himself and punish his betrayal. And one answered. Death, the third incarnate soul of destruction, had been found beyond the reach of any being, living or dead, but Haslia now stood in the threshold of both, and could hear his call. Bending all of his divine might, Haslia was able to carve his way into death's prison as he fell. What happened within that forsaken realm is beyond the understanding of mortal and immortal alike. But from the unholy fusion of those two polar primordial elements, an unholy amalgam was born. Undeath. Animate but alive, Animate but unalive, aware but unsouled, a new primordial paradigm was born. Its rage-filled birth cry infused the thousands upon thousands of dead in Capitus and the Old Dominion beyond with a fraction of his essence, granting them a ghastly unlife. The spiritual connection the deceased had with Haslia made this transfer not just possible, but remarkably easy. In fact, this birth cry was so powerful and uncontrollable that Haslia poured too much of his essence into it, becoming little more than a single directive that lived within each of his undead creations. Slay the living. Almost no records of the butchery that followed exist outside of the most secret vaults of the Order of the Ashen Dawn. What little knowledge of this period exists is embedded in the dark myths and legends of the Rus, the last of mankind to flee the Old Dominion and cross the Clustering Range to freedom. They alone, amongst all of the remnants of mankind, were forced to face the untrammeled horror of Haslia's rage and despair, made manifest at their myths, legends, and cultural outlook reflect this. Through the selfless sacrifice of the last legion and the last remaining god of the triumvirate, Cleon, Haslia's horde was defeated, but a primordial power as old and vast as a horseman, even a corrupted one, cannot be defeated, merely contained. And so it was that Haslia's power and his will were severed. What the Legion did with his will remains the single most closely guarded secret of mankind, but his power has raged unchecked for centuries in the heart of the Old Dominion. In the center of Capitus, there is a gigantic pit from which blazes a miles-high beacon of unlight, a powerful beam of dark fire that casts as much shadow as it does light, shrouding the entire city in a hellish glow of dancing shadows. This is the unfettered and unbound essence of Haslia, fallen god of mankind. It is a corruption unlike anything that ever came before it, and it has sung its siren song for centuries, drawing the mad, the broken, and the despairing, and the power-hungry to it like moths to a flame. Over the centuries, hundreds, if not thousands of mortals have answered the call. Of these, only a mere handful have survived, and they are the anointed. The prophet, the warlord, the speaker, the seer, the howler, the keeper, the branded, the whisperer, and the broken. The first whisper of their names is starting to be heard in the lands of men, a whisper that will soon burgeon to become a storm. Alright, so basically, there are these gods, these four horsemen, there's these gods of mankind. One of them fell, one of them was betrayed by the other, and the energy of that betrayal, the energy of that last god, like seeking his last vengeance, animated this giant city of mankind, creating the Old Dominion forces. It's pretty rad. It's a pretty cool story. Stat line wise, one of the things the Old Dominion has going for them that none of the other forces do is they are an army without they are an army that, aside from specifics, they're an army without a resolve score. Resolve, if you remember, is like leadership / morale. So the Old Dominion, as that they are undying creatures, don't really fail morale checks. Their units can still be broken and shattered by the sheer weight of damage, and of course they can be like killed to a man. But unlike living forces or other forces in this game thus far, they don't have a resolve score, meaning they automatically pass anything that is considered a resolve test. That's important because a lot of close combat results in units getting damaged and then damaged a second time by all their resolve failures. The Old Dominion don't have to worry about that. That's pretty cool. One of the other things that they have is there are creatures in their force that create these dark pools of dark energy, and this energy is used to augment them as soldiers. So we're going to go through. We're going to run through the army list and talk about kind of the different things that they can do. But I'm not going to be very specific. I'm not going to get into like the depths of things. I'm definitely not going to talk about points values. I don't want to ruin. I don't want to make errors or anything like that. We're going to go with just what we see on the page. So starting things off, they have got 6 characters, one of which is a monster. Now, this is, aside from the character that rides around on the Apex Predator for the Wadroon, this is the first time we've had an actual oh, nope, that's not true. We do have another monster character in the ice giant for the Nords. So never mind, ignore what I said. So the first character is the Arkhamendrite. Now, I am going to say this. A lot of these words, a lot of the terms that they've got are not English terms. Some of them are made up, some of them are not. But whatever the case may be, I could butcher these. Please do not jump into the comments, or if you do, be kind about the fact that I have messed up these pronunciations. All right, first character is the Arkhamendrite. It is an infantryman, so it's a basic regular character. It's medium. His stat line, he has a maneuver of 5, a volley of 1, which doesn't sound like he shoots anything anyway, a clash of only 1, which normally means this is not a close combat character. He does have 2 attacks, 5 wounds, no resolve score, a defense of 1. That sucks. A defense of 1 means you only save against wounds on a 1, and any sort of cleave just rips right through you. But he does have an evasion of 2, which means he can always save on a 2 or less. I don't see this character being much of a fighter, but definitely important. He comes with special rules. I'm going to ignore saying that he comes with the character special rule because, of course, he does. He comes with Devout. Devout is a basic. So the rule Devout says if a stand with the Priest special rule is targeting a regiment with the Devout special rule, it automatically converts 1 spellcasting failure to a success. Basically, because this Arkhamendrite is a priest, he's going to be able to cast some spells, and when you cast spells, you've got to get successes. The more successes, more often than not, the better the spell. In this case, because he has priest and devout, if he's casting spells that affect his own regiment, automatically converts one of those negatives to a success. It's pretty cool. He has a priesthood level of 6. That's very high. It means he has 6 dice to roll when he's doing priest stuff. He has the special rule of Animate Vessel. This is one that I have not seen. Animate Vessel. All regiments and character stands in the army with the Animate Vessel special rule gain the Terrifying 1 special rule and may not perform Inspire action. So that means that they can't get better at close combat when they want to get ready for fighting. However, regiments receive the benefits of Inspiration when completing a successful charge, or from any other special rules that would allow them to count as inspired. So if you've got like a special magic item that says they inspire, or like somebody else like has something that says, hey, this guy's inspired, or something like that, then they get the bonus to their clash. They get it automatically when they get a successful charge, but other than that, no inspiration. In addition, regiments with the Animate Vessel special rule do not have a resolve characteristic, this is what I was talking about earlier, and are always considered as if they have passed any morale or resolve characteristic test. A character stand with the Animate Vessel special rule does not confer the resolve characteristic to the regiment they are attached to. However, regiments with this special rule may still be broken or shattered as a result of casualties, as their formation collapse and soldiers are cut down individually. Now, the terrifying ability that you get, this is really good. Like, I will say this, just the fact that the army gets this terrifying 1 kind of across the board, very cool. Enemy regiments in contact with 1 or more stands with this special rule suffer a -X penalty, so in the case of the normal one, it's -1, to their resolve characteristic. This applies to all stands in the enemy regiment. In addition, enemy regiments in contact with 1 or more stands with this special rule, making a combat rally action, must roll and compare it to their resolve characteristic. If the roll is equal to or less than the resolve, the combat rally succeeds. If not, it fails, or the regiment remains broken. So it's kind of a combination of, I don't have to make resolve tests, and I am fearless. And I cause fear. I'm frightening, I think that was the term. It's very cool. Animate Vessel is very cool. This particular Arkhamendrite has the supremacy ability of Scholar of the Profane. Each time this character stand activates, they gain 1 free additional spellcasting action. But they may not attempt to cast the same spell twice. In addition, once per game, the Arkhamendrite may activate this supremacy ability to reroll any number of dice when performing the spellcasting actions this round. So it really, really does make this guy a full-on spellcasting crazy. The next one down the line, this is the monster. This is the Fallen Divinity. So the Fallen Divinity, it's a monster, so it comes 1 big base. It's going to be very cool, very scary. It's kind of slow, but it has this special, interesting thing. So before, it has 3 different tiers of how it is put on the board. Obviously, you start at tier 1, and then it bounces. You go to tier 2, and you go to tier 3. They start at 300 points. I will tell you that. So they're expensive. It has the Tenacious ability, which means it ignores the first failed resolve save. It's Blessed, which means it once per round it can reroll all failed to hit rolls or failed defense rolls. It has Cleave. It has Flank, which means you get to choose when you put it into the game. It has Animate Vessel, and it's got the Font of Dark Power. Font of Dark Power is any dark power token generated from the death of a stand belonging to a regiment within 10 inches of the Fallen Divinity must be allocated to the Fallen Pantheon Empowerment Pool. Okay, the Fallen Pantheon Empowerment Pool. Here we go. So I will say this: the supremacy ability of the Fallen Divinity is called "Surrounded by Fear and Dead Men." It's a very cool line. I will say this: it bothers me that they used this. So, "Surrounded by Fear and Dead Men" is a almost direct quote from a Star Wars Marvel comic something that Darth Vader says, and while it still applies to this big scary fallen demon thing, I am not a fan of stealing other people's cool moments for yourself to use. So take that for what you will. But this supremacy ability says, a fallen divinity must always be the warlord. A fallen divinity is considered to be a regiment by itself, in addition of it also being a character stand, and therefore uses all of the relevant regiment rules as if it were a monster regiment. A fallen divinity activates as if it was a regiment, performs 2 actions per activation, and has access to all of the out-of-combat and in-combat actions a regiment has. In addition, the fallen divinity may also use the duel action, and may not refuse a duel from an enemy character. However, the fallen divinity is not affected by the effects of the dark power pool. The fallen divinity may not join another regiment, and does not need to include a monster regiment in its warband to enter the battlefield. Fallen divinity does not need to include any other regiments in its warband. If a rule affects regiments in the fallen divinity's warband, then it also affects the fallen divinity. Basically, you can bring stuff with it, or you can just have it run around by itself. It's a big scary critter. So it has 3 different tiers, and you gain tiers by stuff happening in game. Tier 1, it only has a move of 4, volley of 2, clash of 2, 6 attacks, 10 wounds. I mean, it's pretty big. Obviously, no resolve score. 2 defense and a 3 evasion. So it's almost always going to use it. It is going to always use its evasion if it can. When it graduates to tier 2, it goes to move 6, volley 3, clash 3, 8 attacks, 12 wounds. Its defense goes up to 3. It also gains a point of cleave. It gains hardened, which means it ignores someone else's cleave. It gains better terrifying. It gains throwing weapons, which means now it starts to do impact hits. And it gains unstoppable. Unstoppable lets it reroll charges. It's very scary. And then if it gets up to tier 3, the game is probably close to over. It gets blessed. It gets brutal impact 3, cleave 3, an additional point of hardened. It gets even more terrifying. It is, but by the time it gets to the 3rd tier, it is a devastating power. But It starts at tier 1, and that's probably where you're going to see most games. It probably is going to end at tier 2, I would assume. The next character is the Hierodeacon. The Hierodeacon is another infantry. It's a light infantry. It's basically like a smaller, a more leadership-y style version of that Arkhamendrite. So another priest, still devout, but it has the draw event of Dark Shepherd. Dark Shepherd. The character stand may select a friendly regiment within 12 inches and immediately destroy one of its stands. Not models. This whole stand. In order to do so, deal wounds to the regiment equal to the wounds remaining on its most wounded stand, following the usual wound allocation rules. These wounds do not trigger morale tests and may not target a character stand within the regiment. The destroyed stand proceeds to generate a dark power token as normal. This draw event can only be activated once per round. Once a character stand uses this draw event, no other character stand may use this draw event until the end of the round. So basically, the whole dark power pool comes from stands of animated vessels dying. This guy can basically choose when his command card is drawn to just kill off a stand to generate some power. The Strategos. The Strategos is a medium class infantry, so he's still a little dude, but he's a little more warrior style. He has a movement of 5, or a maneuver of 5, volley 1, clash 3, which is good. 4 attacks, 5 wounds, no resolve, defense of 3, and an evasion of 1. The fact that a lot of these guys still have evasion it means that there's always a chance for them to save, and that's pretty cool. He has a shield, so from the front he has +1 defense. He has Animate Vessel, and he has Glimmers of a Golden Age. That's his supremacy power. Glimmers of a Golden Age. The army may reach tier 4 dark power empowerment tier as described under the empowerment rules. Once the dark power empowerment tier reaches tier 3, all regiments in the army gain the Flawless Drill special rule. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active. In addition, once per game, a Strategos may activate the supremacy ability. All regiments and character stands in the army count the current empowerment tier as one higher until the end of the round. The active supremacy only provides affected regiments with the Flawless Drill special rule, should they reach tier 3. Flawless Drill says once per game, this regiment may perform a reform or combat reform in addition to its 2 actions per round. In effect, performing 3 actions, one of which must be a reform or combat reform. So, Flawless Drill, for it being the big thing that you get at the end, the big tier 4, it's going to be very helpful for maneuvering and things, and like maybe do like subtle traps from flanking and stuff. But I think that it probably is not going to be nearly as powerful as some people might think. The Strategos can also appear as cavalry, and if he is cavalry, he gains Brutal Impact 2, which is pretty rad. And then we've got the Zilliarc. The Zilliarc is like a... honestly, he seems to be like a lower version of the Strategos. So it's not like he's more fighty. He's got 5 attacks, clash 2, maneuver 5, 6 wounds, better defense. Or no, he's the same events, but he doesn't have shield. He trades shield for cleave 1, and then his supremacy ability is Obdurate, Bone, and Stone. Obdurate, Bone, and Stone. The army may reach Dark Power Empowerment Tier 4 as described in the Empowerment section of the rules. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active. In addition, once per game, a Zilliarc may activate their supremacy ability, allowing all regiments in the warband to perform a free clash action during their activation this round. This supremacy ability allows a regiment to effectively clash twice this round. This is insane. I know he's not as powerful and not as the Strategos, and there's no cavalry version of the Zilliarc. The Zilliarc is banana sandwiches. The fact that he can go, that unit over there, it's going to go ahead and fight twice. We're already dealing with the fact that you've got a unit that stays put, a unit that doesn't resolve out, and now you've got once per game, he just basically goes, everybody this turn, can fight twice. Ugh! That is crazy. And the fact that it's a free clash action, that means that they can go move, charge, clash. Whereas a lot of times you have to go either charge, clash, or then move, charge, and then you just don't get your swings in, but you've tied up the opponent. This is freaking huge. The Zilliarc, mark my words, Fallen Divinity is going to be big because it's a beautiful monster and it's going to kick a bunch of butt. You are going to see a lot of Zilliarcs. I'm telling you, that's it. The Zilliarcs once per game is a pendulum swinging game winner. All right, so now let's get into the regiments, which there are a bunch. So okay, this is also where I'm probably going to butcher a lot of words. The Athanatoi. They're medium-class infantry, maneuver 5, volley 1, clash 2, attacks 2, 1 wound apiece, no resolve, 2 defense, 1 evasion. So, somewhat lightly armed guys. They're regular baseline infantry, but they have the Animate Vessel thing. I'm going to stop saying Animate Vessel. Pretty much everything's got it. I'll make note if they don't. They have Flurry, which means they get to re-roll their failed hit rolls. They also have Bodyguards. Bodyguards is character stands embedded in this regiment do not cause the regiments to break by refusing a duel. So they don't add the broken trait. That's pretty cool. They can have a standard bearer, they can have a leader, they can have a princeps. A princeps may perform inspire actions. This is the stair step that I was talking about. So having a princeps in your force or in your unit allows you to inspire. Having a Zilliarc allow you to clash twice. You could be like inspire, clash, clash, or charge, inspire, clash. Like, huge. They can also go to Dark Cenotaph. Dark Cenotaph gain the Dread special rule as long as it has 6 or less stands. So as long as you're not using a giant block, you get Dread. Dread is opponents touching this force or this regiment, they just can't inspire. That's pretty scary. A lot of forces use the inspire. Now the good news is the Dark Cenotaph, you can only have 1 per army, so that's a big thing. I don't know. Oh, you know what? We are going to click on something real quick. We're going to check the rules. We're going to find out what memories of old. Nope. Okay. So I don't know what the memories of old rule is. I have not seen what that says. But basically, a lot of these forces, a lot of these regiments have a memories of old trait. It's not a draw event, but it's got something else. In this case, it's got counterattack during each clash or dual action taken against a stand with this special rule. Unmodified defense rolls of 1 cause 1 hit to the active enemy regiment or character stand. These hits do not benefit from any special rules that would work in a clash or a duel. So memories of old. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Basically, when someone attacks the Athanatoi, any ones that you make on your defense saving rolls, you automatically inflict a hit upon the opponent. That's pretty cool. Next up, the Bone Golems. All jokes aside, the Bone Golems are heavy brutes. They have a move of 6, volley of 1, clash of 2, 4 attacks apiece, 6 wounds apiece, no resolve, 3 defense, no evasion. That's an important thing. They do not have any evasion, so their defense of 3 that's what they got. They have no add-ons, they have no standards, they have nothing else. They do have cleave of 2, relentless blows, which relentless blows is anytime they roll a 1, they can do an extra hit. They have unstoppable, which means they get to reroll their failed charges. They have hardened 1, which is they ignore 1 point of cleave or anything like similar to that. But they also come standard with Aura of Death 2. An Aura of Death 2 means when an opponent activates in contact with them, they take 2 hits per per stand touching them. And then they've got again, there's something, I want to know what this Memories of Old thing is, because the Memories of Old for the Bone Golems adds 1 to the Aura of Death. So that means that you would have an Aura of Death 3. That could be, like, you could kill off an opponent when they're not even, it's not even your turn. Like, it's awesome. Next up, we have another large base, 1 per model brute, the Bucephaloi. The Bucephaloi, which I believe someone said that these are probably going to be like undead minotaurs, or something similar, which I think is cool. We've got their medium classes. They're slightly more expensive than the Bone Golems, to make a note. Very slightly, like literally. The main unit of Bone Golems is 210 for 3, so it's 70 points apiece. The Bucephaloi are 220 points for 3, but they're 80 points per base. So either there is some math weirdness happening, or they're like a baseline Bucephaloi unit shouldn't cost 240 points. I don't know. But they have Brutal Impact 1, Cleave of 3, Unstoppable, and then their Memories of Old, they have 2 Memories of Old. They've got Brutal Impact +2, which would make their Brutal Impact, their impact hits at 3. And then they have Unstoppable Charge. A stand with this special rule doubles the number of impact hits it rolls upon a charge. So with that and Brutal Impact 3, these guys are just going to just smash through. I don't even know. They can get a leader. But then they also can have either a Keeper of the Dead or a Key Warden. Keeper of the Dead, they gain an extra point of Hardened, so now they would have Hardened 2. And the Key Warden, they gain Fury +2 draw event. That means each one of these guys would get 2 extra swings. That would be 6 swings per dude if you have a Key Warden. The Bucephaloi are scary. Next brute, another heavy brute, the Canaphores. The Canaphores move 6, volley 1, clash 3, 4 attacks, 4 wounds. They actually have fewer wounds than the others, but they have a defense 3 and an evasion of 2. They are untouchable. Enemies that are contacted with these guys do not get supporting attacks. They can't support. So it's just people touching them. They're blessed. They get to get the rerolls. They have Cleave. They have Flurry. They have Hardened 1. They have Animate. And then their Memories of Old is a Flawless Strike. When this stand performs a clash action, all to hit rolls of 1 have the Smite special rule. Additional hits generated by other special rules do not benefit from the Smite special rule. So one thing to remember is that if you've cast a spell on these guys or whatever, and they get extra spells or extra attacks, that does not get benefit. Smite. Enemy regiments count their total defense as 0 against hits caused by a stand with this special rule during a clash or duel. So what I'm saying here is if they have their Memories of Old, the Canaphores, ignore your defense. No cleave, they just ignore it completely. So if you don't have evasion, you're just taking hits. It's very scary. And then we have another brute. We have the Karyatids. Again, brutes on big bases. The Karyatids are medium class, maneuver 6, volley 2, clash 2, 4 attacks, 4 wounds, defense 3, 1 evasion. But these are the shooty guys. The Karyatids have armor piercing 2. They have deadly shot. Deadly shot means they add 2 wounds to the attack pool for each unmodified defense roll of 6. So basically, when the enemy saves and screws it up, they take double wounds, which is very scary. These guys do 3. They have a barrage of 3 per dude, out to 30 inches. And then if they have Memories of Old is active, they have a barrage of 4 per dude. They can get a leader, and they can get an Irenaeus. And Arrhenius, they have the Fluid Formation special rule. And Fluid Formation means you get to do free reform when you move. So that's pretty cool. All right, we still have a lot to cover. I'm going to try and get through these as quickly as I can. We have the Centaur Karayakis. They are medium cavalry. They have a move of 8, volley 2. Let's see. Move of 8, volley 2, clash of 2, 4 attacks, 4 wounds, defense 3, evasion 1. They have strong arm, which means they can move their full distance. Strong arm is they never get the minus. They never get the -1 for long range. Basically, they always shoot their full barrage distance. They have deadly shot. They have shorter range than the other guys, but they still have barrage of 3, and then they get sure shot as their memory of old. Stands with this special rule never count their volleys as obscured by intervening regiments or terrain. So basically, they just are always going to be just murdering people at long range, and they can get a leader. Cultists! Cultists are your basic schmucks. So these are one of the only guys. These are cultists of the Havisham, Hatlia. I forgot the god's name. These are the guys that are worshipping death. They have a move of 5, volley 2, clash 1, attack 1, 1 wound. They have a resolve of 2. They actually have a resolve. Defense 1, evasion 1. They are kind of garbage. But they are kind of garbage in a good way. They're cheap. They have strong arms, so they get to do their full distance stuff. They are oblivious. Regiments with this special rule receive only 1 wound for every 2 failed morale tests. So their morale failures, even though they do have a resolve, it does not bother them much. They have short barrages, so they're probably throwing things. They have lethal demise, so when they die, this is why they're garbage. Stands with this special rule cannot heal wounds. Whenever stands with this special rule suffer wounds from an enemy regiment it is engaged with, but not as a result of morale tests, that enemy regiment receives an equal number of hits to their front arc. Basically, these guys explode. And then they have a trait that I don't know, Liquid Anathema. When an enemy regiment is hit as a result of a volley action performed by this regiment, add 2 to the total hits received from the Aura of Death special rule until the end of that regiment's next activation. This is really cool. What this is they are throwing basically like bottles of like oil and stuff on the opponent. So or other substances that make your other forces that have the Aura of Death better. This is the first time we've seen this, and I honestly hope that my Dwagam gets something like this at some point, because I've got a couple of guys that have got Aura Death in the like different flaming things, so that would be pretty cool. But either way, this is cool. So it's a cheap unit. They're very easy to kill, but they have that cool power to make other stuff get better with their Aura of Death. They can have a leader, and they can have an apostate. An apostate gives them flank. Flank allowing them to join the force pretty much whenever. The Hashashin are medium infantry. They move 5, volley 1, clash 2, attack 2, 1 wound, 3 resolve is another living force. Defense 1, evasion 2. They have cleave of 1, flurry of Vanguard. Vanguard, when a regiment with this special rule arrives from reinforcements, it may take an additional free march action, provided no enemies are within 8 inches when the regiment enters the battlefield. So they basically get to come out faster, which is cool. They can have a leader, they can have an apostate, so they get to do the apostate thing, and they can have a Master Hashashin. Master Hashashin have Deadly Blades. Deadly Blades is basically the close combat version of Deadly Shot, where they add 2 wounds to the pool for every unmodified defense roll of 6. Very cool. The Cataphractoi, we've seen those. These are the Undead Cavalry. Move of 7, they're medium-class cavalry. Move 7, volley 1, clash 2, 5 attacks apiece. 4 wounds, no resolve, 3 defense, 1 evasion. Brutal Impact 2, they have shields. And then Memories of Old, they have Shock and Unstoppable Charge. Unstoppable Charge is the impact thing. Shock is, in a round where a stand with this special rule issued a charge action, their Inspire bonus is increased to +2 clash instead of +1. The bonus is applied sequentially and counts if you would apply 2 inspired effects one after the other. That's awesome. You basically get to inspire and then shock the opponents for more spire. It's great. They have a standard bearer, they have a leader. They can also have one of the following. A Hetaeros. The Hetaeros, they get Overrun. Overrun is so good. I'll tell you this. When this regiment declares a charge action against a broken regiment, or causes the target of their charge action to become broken as a result of their impact attacks, this regiment may perform their impact attacks again. If the enemy regiment is shattered or destroyed by this regiment's impact attacks, this regiment is allowed to perform a charge action as its second action, even if the regiment has already charged this round. Basically, they can hit somebody and just keep on hitting. So good. Or the regiment can have a companion. A companion gives them Fury +1, so an extra attack. Very cool. The Keres, they are light infantry. These are like basic schmucks, but they seem like, almost like ghostly schmucks. They have a volley of 2, move of 6, clash 1, attack 1, 1 wound, 1 defense, 2 evasion. They have strong arm. They're always obscured. They have a light barrage. They're devout. They have sure shot, so they get to reroll some misses. They've got priest per stand. They have 1 level of priest per stand, so a full stand of like 12 dudes has a priest level of 12 for casting spells. They have a Memories of Old of adding +1 priest per stand. Very, very scary. Basically, it's a spell casting stand of ghosts. They may choose one or both of the following spells: Drain Will or Insanity. Drain Will is a 12-inch range. If the caster scores 1 to 3 successes, they get to reduce the target enemy regiment's defense by 1 until the end of the round. If the caster scores 4 or more successes, then the target regiment receives 1 additional hit from any Aura of Death effects until the end of the round. In addition to reducing its defense. Drain Will is very good. Insanity inflicts 2 hits per success. Target enemy regiment rolls defense rolls using their lowest unmodified resolve instead of their defensive. So it's basically they're doing morale hits. Wounds resolving from spells do not trigger further morale tests. Should the Dark Power pool reach tier 2, then any wounds caused by this spell cause an additional wound for each unmodified resolve of 6. This effect is cumulative when the Dark Power pool reaches tier 3. Should the Dark Power pool reach tier 3, this spell causes a morale test as well. Insanity is going to ruin people's day. This is a scary, scary spell. The Keres are going to be tough. Legionaries, basic soldiers. They have shield, they have move 5, volley 1, clash 2, 1 attack, 1 wound, 1 defense, 1 evasion, but they do have a shield. They have an extra support. So their guys in the back do extra things. Their Memories of Old is another extra support, and then they also have Phalanx. Phalanx has +1 defense against volleys made by enemies in its front arc, and attacks made by enemy stands in contact to its front. So basically, it's like having shield twice. Very cool. Options: they can have a standard bearer, they can have a leader, they can also have an icon bearer. An icon bearer is always the last casualty from the regiment. When this model is removed, add 1 additional token to the empowerment pool. So basically, it allows you to jack up that empowerment pool faster. They can have a leader. Now, they have a bunch of additional command options. They have an acolyte, which allows them to target this regiment with spells that are not of range self, regardless where they are on the battlefield. So one of your priests can just go, "Hey, acolyte, blah," do a thing. They have the Dark Cenotaph, which gives them dread. They have the Profane Reliquary, gives them Aura of Death +1. They have a Centurion, giving them Flawless Drill. And then they have an Optio, giving them Vanguard. Now, you can only have one of those options, but that is so many options. That's big. Next up is the Moroi, Light Infantry, move of 6, volley 1, clash 2, attack 2, wounds 1, no resolve, 1 defense, 2 evasion. They have Fluid Formation, Aura of Death 2, and they are an Animate Vessel. The Moroi are the close combat version of the ghost things from the Keres. Their memories of old are Cleave 1, and they become wizards. Wizard of a rating of 1 per stand. They can get the two following spells. Immolation, which is they gain Aura of Death plus X until the start of their next activation, where X is the number of successes divided by 2. Any regiment affected by this spell has its Aura of Death X special rule limited to a maximum Aura of Death 5. That is so frightening. The fact that this is a spell that makes these guys basically burst into flames, and get potentially up to an Aura of Death 5, plus then you have all those extra hits you can get from the other things adding bonuses. Moroi are very cool. And then their other spell, which is I think a sleeper hit, is Translocation. They have only affects themselves. The regiment immediately performs a 6-inch march, ignoring all intervening regiments, character stands, and terrain. The regiment must be placed in a legal position at the end of this movement to not overlap with any other regiment's stands. This effect can be used even if the regiment is currently engaged in combat, so you can just go and leave. Whilst performing this move, the regiment may move sideways and or backwards without having to half its movement. So you can move in any direction you want, the full 6-inch march, and then this is where that spell, it's cool. You can basically teleport. Bloop, bloop. But their special rules as a unit is Fluid Formation. Fluid Formation, a regiment where all non-character stands have this special rule, can take an extra reform action. This action must be used either first or last. A regiment with the Fluid Formation special rule has 360 line of sight. Okay. Regiment with the Fluid Formation spell can choose targets to claim line of sight from any arc. So basically what you can do, because of Fluid Formation, you can do your stuff, cast Translocation, teleport, and then as your last action for free, Fluid Formation to reform however you see fit after that 6-inch teleport. It's pretty scary. I think it's very cool. The last 3, we have the Praetorian Guard. The Praetorian Guard are going to be your medium infantry. They have move of 5, 1 volley, 2 clash, 1 attack piece, 1 wound, no resolve, 2 defense, 1 evasion. But they have shields and they have phalanx. They have shields. They have phalanx if their memories of old is active, and they also have the draw event of Bastion 1, which means their defense from the front is a 3. If it's after their draw, it's a 4. And with the memories of old, if it is active, their defense is a 5. That's really good. From the front, anyway. They can have another icon bearer, they can have a standard leader, they can have a leader, they can have a dark cenotaph, they can have a profane reliquary, and they can have a centurion. So the Praetorian Guard are a solid unit. Next up, we have a medium monster. So this is going to be one of those bigger models running around on its own, called the Profane Sepulcher. It is move of 4, volley 1, clash 2, 8 attacks, 14 wounds, no resolve, 2 defense, 3 evasion. So you're going to use your evasion more often than not. Special rules. First off, may only include 1 per army. You only ever get 1 Profane Sepulcher. It is devout, which means priests get the failure into success. It has unhallowed ground. All other regiments and character stands in the same warband, not even location, warband, as the Profane Sepulcher, treat the Dark Power Pool's tier as if it was 1 higher. This could be pretty significant when you start dealing with some of the things that get better with the different tiers. It also has a draw event of Exhortation of Eternal Faith. Personally, I love that phrase. Exhortation of Eternal Faith. All friendly regiments within X gain the Fanatical Devotion special rule, where X depends on the tier level of the Dark Power Pool. Dark Power 1, 8 inches, 2 is 10 inches, 3 is 12 inches. Fanatical Devotion, whenever this regiment is the target of a friendly spell cast by a model with the Priest rule, it is healed for 3 wounds. Pretty good, huh? So not only you're casting spells that do stuff, but you're bringing dudes back. It's very, very cool. And the last unit currently in their army list is the Varangian Guard. These are your heavy infantry. Move of 5, volley 1, clash of 3. Attacks 1, 1 wound, base defense 3, 1 evasion. They have Tenacious, which means they get to ignore the first failed defense roll. They have Cleave 2, and then their Memories of Old are interesting. Their Memories of Old give them an extra Cleave, bring them to Cleave 3, but then they also get Line Breaker of 1. When a stand with this special rule is in contact with an enemy regiment, that regiment ignores up to X total defense gained from shields and bastions. It has no effect against regiments without these rules. So basically, you target these guys to go after guys with shields and bastions and ignore some of that. It's pretty cool. And then their regular cleave ignores the rest of the defense. There's going to be very few people that are going to get high defense rolls off of the Varangian Guard. They can get a Standard Bearer, they can get a Leader, they can get a Dark Cenotaph or a Princeps. I'm telling you, the Old Dominion are going to be very, very cool, very, very tough. They are kind of expensive on the point side of things, and we'll see how things go as things progress with them. You know, getting to play them in game. You know, their general idea is you want to start taking casualties to fill up that dark power pool, to start activating all these special benefits. But the more casualties you're taking, I mean, the closer your guys are to not being able to hold up against big units and stuff. So, well, we'll see. We'll see. I think it's going to be a neat trade-off, and they're going to be very cool. And I really wanted to go through that. I know that was, for someone who's not a big, you know, if you may not have been big into, like, listening to all those stats, you might be like, okay, it's an undead force, whatever. I really kind of wanted to celebrate the fact that they're out. We have the information on them. People can start proxying them. I believe next weekend the actual army is going to start being available. And I know for a fact one of my very close friends is going to be picking up some Old Dominion stuff. So I will be able to start telling you about how that goes very soon. Aside from that, you know what? I've ran a little long, and that's cool. I want you to have a great day. Be safe, wear your mask, get vaccinated, get boosted, whatever you got to do. But I want you to be out there, have a good time, and play some games. We'll see you in 2 weeks.